Alright, greetings people. Greetings YouTube. This is chapter 4, but we're going to finish with the last page of chapter 3 and go on into chapter 4. We got cut off again. Sorry about that. We're going to finish the last page of chapter 3. This is chapter 4. Alright. In the TDCJ General Information Guide, it states, limited physical contact between eligible offenders and their visitors may be allowed if the visitors are immediate family, parents, step-parents or grandparents, natural or adopted children, stepchildren or grandchildren, natural or adoptive siblings or step-siblings, spouse, or persons related by marriage, if accompanied by an immediate family member. I was none of the above. I wondered if some corrupt guard was going to ask me for money when I showed up for our visit. Then, too, I thought him being a black man, it may be the norm to break a few rules here and there to survive. Or maybe some extortionist was trying to get cash money from him for protection. I was confused again. When I said my prayers, I asked God to please remove Tyrone from me if he was not the man for me, and please make it plain. That's chapter 3. Chapter 4, my first visit. My first visit. The internet came in handy when I was looking for information on how to marry an inmate. I would sit for hours clicking on the many websites that came up by typing in keywords such as prison, inmate, criminal justice, and of course, proxy. To my surprise, I came across a prison support website, www.prisontalk.com, known as PTO, which stands for Prison Talk Online. I was glad I stumbled upon PTO. You could type in a question any time of the day or night, and people from all over the world could and did give a reply. There were many different forums where numerous topics were discussed. I spent hours reading stories and questions written by women in situations similar to my own. I was astonished. Coming to this site helped me tremendously. I felt comforted knowing there were others like myself who loved and waited for an incarcerated loved one. This was proof I was not being ridiculous, the way my family and friends had led me to believe. I had found other women who married an inmate by proxy whom they did not know before incarceration. I was not crazy. One has to be a member of PTO to ask a question, so I decided to join. I gave a little background information on Tyrone's and my relationship and asked mainly women if they thought my baby was game related. I had read about women smuggling items into the prison earlier. I felt if Tyrone was involved in any illegal drug activity, it was only because people do what they have to do to survive. All the same, I was not one for blatantly breaking the rules, and I found this request insulting. He knows I have these babies, as I call them, and I need my money. I wanted an outside opinion because I don't trust any man. I never have. And after hearing my case, the vote was more or less unanimous that my baby was foul. However, a few women sent me private messages, PMs, letting me know they understood both sides. The thing to do was not give him any money to see if he would still profess his love for me. It was simple. If he tripped on me, he was trying to use me. If he did not trip, he probably loved me as he professed. I did not send Carlin's information to Tyrone in time, so I made the visit alone. I was not upset. I preferred it that way. I prepared for my first visit to a penitentiary the same as I would for a first date. I got my nails and hair done, picked out the right outfit, and practiced smiling in the mirror. I thought that was so funny. I could hardly sleep that night, but I knew I needed my rest if I was going to make a 9-hour drive by myself. I packed an overnight bag just in case I decided to spend the night. It was my intent to drive both ways the same day. I got up early the next morning to begin my trip. I decided to go ahead and take a $50 bill to the prison just in case. I assume all the women on the website were probably Caucasian and had no knowledge of a black man or a black man's struggle. Surely there were no black women doing this shit. I still had no idea how Tyrone was going to get this money from me. I just wanted to see my husband's face. When I arrived, it seemed like the unit was strategically built in the middle of nowhere. I thank God I was safe. I knew AAA would have a hard time finding me if something went wrong with my Mercedes. After being screened by 2 guards at the front gate and having my car searched, I proceeded to the visiting area with quarters and driver's license in hand. Another guard in a tower would hit a buzzer for me to enter one gate so I could continue further to the next. Then I had to be checked for weapons with the little wand they pass over your body before going any further. "Okay, she's clean," the guard said. I was given a number and told to go to the window with the same number. "Jones will be right out," another guard said. While waiting for Tyrone, I talked with other visitors to get a feel for what was going on around me. This particular woman visited the unit all the time, so this was old hat to her. She filled me in on the rules, gave me her impression of the correction officers, COs, and her man, while the inmates without fail paraded out the door. I sat there thinking I wouldn't know Tyrone if I saw him, and I felt uneasy. When a few of the men passed my number, I breathed a sigh of relief. I knew by looking at them that they were not the one. I automatically ruled out the white men. I was sure my baby was black. Some had tattoos all over their bodies, and I was instantly turned off. Others looked intimidating, like they would break a nigga's neck if pushed to that point. Luckily, none of them was my Tyrone. When Tyrone finally came out, he walked right past me without acknowledging me. To this day, he thinks that was cute. I let him know how upset that made me. I do not like being left in the blind, if it was even for only a few seconds, but I got over it. Tyrone sat facing me and said, "Hey, baby." I just looked at him and smiled. Seconds later, asking him how he was going to play me, making me think he was not my baby. We chatted for a few minutes about the drive, and then I said 3 words he was waiting to hear. "Happy birthday, baby." He smiled and began to tell me how we were going to get this bill from my bosom to his hands. I was a chicken shit scaredy cat, so I ended up putting the $50 bill in another visitor's hands, and somehow, before the visit ended, it got to his. Tyrone promised to turn that one bill into several. Eventually, he could send money home to help with the kids and get him a lawyer. It felt good to spend time and be with him. We talked, laughed, played around, and ate free world snacks. He didn't look to be 5'11" and 171 pounds, but he was still fine. His smile and demeanor took me back to all the fantasies we had created in our letters. He was fun to be with. If there was one thing my man needs, it would be a sense of humor. I was glad my baby could laugh and talk with me in the midst of his and our circumstances. When he stated he loved me, the usual reply, "I love you too," did not fall from my lips. I said, "I don't believe you." He said I was playing games, but I was not playing games with him. I had doubt. Consequently, we talked more about my doubt and, to my surprise, his. When Tyrone began to whisper through the mesh screen in my ear, I was excited and turned on. He told me all the words I wanted to hear. I love you, I miss you, I need you, I want you, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. I ate up every word. I loved him more than I loved any man I had ever met. When he backed away from the divider so that we were once more making eye contact, I felt paralyzed in my position. I loved looking into his eyes. Tyrone solemnly looked in my eyes and said, "Baby, will you marry me?" I whispered yes before he could finish. We thought and referred to each other as husband and wife, but we had to make it legal for several reasons. First, the unit would recognize me as his wife and treat me accordingly. Secondly, he and I would feel more secure in our commitment and would worry less about the other bailing before his imminent release. Thursday, we were soulmates, and this is what soulmates do. This was a guarantee that we would spend the rest of our lives together, even though he was behind bars. To my knowledge, all Tyrone had to do was get his proxy papers in order, have them notarized, and send them to the courts. My daughter had agreed to stand in for us in his absence. She didn't like the idea, but admitted I was grown and she would support my decision. If I was happy, she was happy for me. Chrissy is such a special girl. I would be lost without her. Tyrone said he needed more paper and envelopes. The ones I previously sent were waiting to be shipped from his old unit. I loved my letters, so I promised to call the office supply store straightway. Close to visit's end, we were both watching the clock, knowing that we would soon part. I hated leaving without him. I'm sure he hated staying there even more. At visit end, we said our farewells, filled with I love yous, and parted. In this letter, Tyrone talks about how pleased he was in reference to our visit. Baby, love was all over our faces. I looked into your eyes and I could see Tyrone all over your face, baby. I'm in love with those pretty eyes of yours. When I started talking softly in your ear, I could feel you tingle, baby. But it's okay. I'm sure you were okay when you got back home. Well, since I'm out of paper, let me answer my baby's request. While lying in your bed relaxing, you come walking into the room with nothing but a towel on. I look at you and I start to smile. You ask me, Tyrone, what are you smiling for? I say, I love you, Christine. You then climb on top of me and softly say, show me, baby. The light came on. It scared me. It gets a little more interesting, but that is beside the story. He talked about getting a tattoo with the money I had given him, and I was not pleased. He should have been trying to get what he needed, not what he wanted. The next Saturday, I received a letter from Tyrone stating that he was upset about something and wished he could see me. He did not say what upset him. On Sunday morning, I woke up out of my sleep with the desire to see my baby and proceeded to a visit with him that I had not planned. I wanted to show him his wish was my command. Then, too, I wanted to see his reaction to my unscheduled visit. I read on PTO about 2 women visiting the same man and all hell breaking loose. If Tyrone acted indifferent, I would have assumed someone else could possibly be visiting him. Joyfully, Tyrone did not act indifferent. He was happy to see me. He was concerned about my safety because it was raining and apologetic for causing me to worry about his state of mind, which prompted my visit. He was upset because he could not be with me and missed me. As days went past, Tyrone's letters kept coming at my heart. I may have written him daily. His replies were 8 to 10 pages every 3 days. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because time is running short. I'm going to pick back up on the next episode with the rest of Chapter 4. Smooches, y'all.